Okay. I hit the button and it didn't work right away. Okay, welcome to H4M. This is we are here live with Brandon and Amy. Amy, thank you for coming on for such short notice. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you your ability to do that. Welcome, Brandon. Brandon's been working hard. He is he is here. I know he's doing a lot of work and a lot of great things done. So today we have a a great show planned. We're going to go over some genetic testing that we did. We want to kind of show everybody how the genetic testing works and what we can do with it. So we're going to go over some of the genetic testing. Amy has also planned a presentation here, which was
But we can do my presentation another time. We got lots to talk about with the genetic stuff.
Yeah, that actually probably makes sense. That's right.
Yeah.
Amy, I do want to respect your timeline because you have an hour and a half, and we'll try to get done in under that.
Yeah, so I rarely have plans at all, but there just so happens to be a restaurant opening this evening in my neighborhood, and it is my favorite restaurant on earth. That is opening just a couple blocks away from my house, so I'm like, I can't miss it.
Okay, what restaurant is that?
Uchi.
Uchi. I think
it is.
That sounds great.
Incredible. If there is an Uchi near you, I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. I have had, there's also a Matsuhisu right across the street from me, and I would pick Uchi 100 times out of 100 over Matsu. So it's that good.
Kidding.
Yeah.
What type of food is it?
It's Japanese, but it's sushi, but they also do traditional Japanese like food. So hot food and cold food and just the fusions of just amazing things. I mean, like it literally, like I every person that I know appreciates good food and good sushi. Like I want them to experience this because it is an experience like no other. Like it is just.
You got me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sold.
Yeah, you guys need to come to Denver for the best sushi. Nothing like coming to a landlocked state for sushi.
Yeah, let's go to the middle of the country for seafood.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, no, I bet.
Sushi tastes better at elevation. It's not that surprising.
Yes.
Christina and I like Nobu. It's like one of our favorite restaurants. So we try to go around the country and go to all of them. We just went to the one in Malibu recently. It's beautiful. But they have a really unique take on Japanese food. Right? Like I actually just watched a documentary on Nobu. It was really interesting. He took more of a Moroccan flavor and then mixed it with Japanese, and that's kind of how they came up with a lot of the citrusy and sweet cuisine that's really popular with Nobu, and it's just fantastic. Just like you're talking about, just attention to detail with every little flavor palette, and they try to like combine flavor palettes to really have optimal effect. And like what I like about Nobu too is that when they bring the food out, they suggest to you how the chef recommends you eat it. And I like that because sometimes you get this complex plate with a lot of stuff on it. I'm like, I don't know. What do you want me to do with all this? Do I mix it all together, or should I eat everything one at a time? What order should I eat it in? And they explain that to you at Nobu. So, but I like it. I'll have to try Uchi.
Yeah, Uchi is very much that way. So it's very similar in the way it's presented and the way things are paced and served, like very much like Nobu.
Yeah, that's great. Look what Mickey Manning asked here. We're going to answer this question for you. Can genetic testing tell you what diet is best for you? It turns out it sure can.
Yeah.
Look. Okay. Is this how you spell Uchi?
It is. Uchi.
Okay. I was like, I started to type it in to look it up, and I typed in Ouchie, and I was like, that's probably
Uchi. Oh my gosh, stay hungry. Uchiko is opening tonight in Cherry Creek, so
okay.
Get on it.
All right. Very good. Okay, so how else have you been? Brandon, why don't you tell us how you've been? We'll see how Amy's been, and then we'll say hi to everybody in the chat, and then we'll get going.
That sounds great. I can't complain. It's been busy, but the good kind of busy. A lot of great stuff happening for our patients. It's been really fun to hear about, everybody's journey now that a lot of the ones that I've kind of brought on, it's been 3 months, 6 months, etc. And, the stories get better and better. And it's been a lot of fun being able to hear the improvement in people's lives. On a personal note, nothing. Well, okay, like this month, nothing too crazy. Last month, I was in Brazil for 10 days for my best friend's wedding. I was the best man, so that was very fun. But yeah, back to the back to the grindstone, and happy to be here.
How was Brazil, like, as far as just the culture and
Incredible. Yeah. The wedding was in Rio, and that's very dramatic landscape. It's ocean with mountains. It's super green. This time of year is summer for them, so it was a nice change for me.
Mhm.
But just very welcoming people. The dollar goes a lot farther down there. I'll say that. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. And my friend, he goes above and beyond for everything. So it was unforgettable. Absolutely.
Is he the Brazilian, or was he marrying a Brazilian, or both?
He's Brazilian. Him and his wife, we all met at college, so we've known each other a
Oh,
good while
Mhm.
awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Amy, how else have you been? You're going to the Arnold here. We all dropped the ball
Yeah.
here at H4M, and we did
Mhm.
not plan it in time. So like, I don't see how we're going to be able to make a showing at the Arnold, but you are going.
I am.
Do you have any special plans or anything for that, or?
I mean, just to watch,
Yeah.
honestly, like just to watch everything. I'm not Wonder Woman this year, so anyone who was there last year and saw me as Wonder Woman. I know. I'm like kind of disappointed. I thought I
Yeah.
should I enjoyed being Wonder Woman for a day, but no, this year I'm just gonna be me. And we don't have a booth, so it'll just probably not bring in dozens of cookies and not be in Wonder Woman. So I just am gonna be a normal Arnold
Oh
goer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was nice to have a booth where we could just kind of have like a
Yeah.
I don't know, a safe zone or a
Mhm.
spot where you could just kind of go take a rest for a second. It gets
now.
Yes.
you
Yeah.
get like with all the social interaction, like I've always said this, that the social interaction is exhausting. It's like mentally
Mhm.
exhausting. You have like, I mean, if you think about all the synapses that have to fire, when you're just thinking of social reaction, like all the social cues and everything you have to make, like there's a whole bunch of extra choline floating around, and it kind of ruins the synapse firings and flow. Like the more that you have all this extra choline, and that would kind of create this brain fog, right? So like what I notice when I'm at those things and you're just talking to so many people, I mean, it's fun, but at the same time, like your brain just gets so fuzzy and you just can't you can't think, and especially by the end of the day, you're just ready to go.
Yeah.
It's
That's
it's
very
fun.
true. Yeah. Well, and just having the booth was nice because it's like you said, it's like a safe space because it
Yeah,
was like people had to come to you
yeah,
there, so it was like you could kind of just like be in your little bubble,
yep,
gracefully step away when you needed to. And it wasn't
yeah,
like you were just out in the crowd and people were mobbing you, like a
yeah,
lot of the, athletes will get if they try and go through the crowd, like they just get mobbed.
yeah,
So it's nice to have a little safe space.
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting. I wonder if the young LA will have the biggest, the largest, what do you call it, booth there
Yeah,
again. It was amazing last year.
That's what
yeah,
I heard
they
back
have a
then.
huge booth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was all like people wanted to see the trend twins, not competitors.
Yeah, yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. That was
Yeah.
funny. They had the Trent twins. Another big one was John Bones Jones was there,
That's cool.
and there was a huge line to see him. He's from my hometown.
Is
He's
he?
from where I
Oh,
live. Yeah,
Oh,
from where I'm from. So like,
yeah.
it was funny because when we were growing up, they were in football. They were all playing football, and they were just like the stars of football. Like our Union Endicott high school team had the the Jones brothers, right? And they were all they each one of them that came in just dominated their football. And then sure enough, they go pro. Like a lot of them went pro, and then John Jones, obviously we know what happened to him. But it was great.
Yeah.
I actually
Wow.
met him one time. I was in South Beach, and I just happened to get a VIP table at a club. And I'll be damned if they didn't put me right next to John Jones and Arthur Jones, who played for the Colts at the time.
wow.
Oh
So
my
I was like,
gosh.
"Oh my god!" Like I knew them, and I went over instead and said hi to him. It was just crazy how I met him in South Beach.
It's a very small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to. I think what we'll do is, yeah. Let's what kind of something that we're highlighting is the genetic testing that we have. It's really, we really want to highlight this because it really is, from the standpoint of how we're actually utilizing it. It's revolutionary in the sense for a couple of reasons. And let me just, man, I gotta share my screen here. I gotta get, okay. No, that's not it. Oh, this is it. Okay. So here is our screen. Can you even see it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
There we go.
Here we go. And you know what? I gotta learn how to how to zoom in. But anyways, I think you can see it good enough for now. But so if we go to our Pathfinder lab section here, we can see our genetic tests. And one thing I want to highlight here is that we intentionally, like our goal, my original goal for this whole business, like when we started it, and Todd and I, and Todd has made sure that he stuck to one of the things that was important to me, is to be able to bring hormone replacement therapy and all its benefits to open it up to more demographics, so that we, I don't think you should have to be in a certain tax bracket to be able to afford hormone replacement therapy, right? Or the benefits from it. So it was important for us to keep this affordable. And so along that lines, one of the things that was important to us was to make this affordable. If you go through the marketplace, you will not see genetic testing at these prices, at this good a price. It's always marked up. We're not making anything off these genetic tests. This is not a revenue source for us. This is just so we can treat you better. Like, if we have all this information, we can give you better service and better, we can be more effective, right? And that's the goal. So I just want to highlight that we do have, this is like the first iteration of our genetic testing. We will add more in the future. Especially some of these here are beneficial for Amy, because there's a lot of our nutritional panels, gut health panels, fat burning panels. These are things that can especially be used in nutrition, but we're going to be adding more, right? So in the future, there will be things like our methylation pathways, or our just other genetics. Let me think. Hold on, I can get a list of them. Phase 1 detox systems, nitric oxide, phase 2 acetylation and glucuronidation. These are how your body's handling all the medications, how your body is handling, like all the different enzymes and everything. Detoxification systems, like how are they all handling all of the oxidative processes in your body. And once we can get an idea, we can really customize protocols to you. We can customize a plan for you as an individual. So let's actually dive into one of these. So Todd, our co-founder, went through all of this process. He's gone through this process with Amy. Amy, so I don't even know if I mentioned this, Amy. Amy is going to be heading our nutrition. So we're adding a nutrition element to our servings. And Amy, now I got to figure out how to get this thing off. Just hit that big X. Okay, there we go. And so Amy will be heading our nutrition department. No, our nutrition offerings, right? So Amy, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with Amy here. Oh, we will have all of Amy's social media in this box too. Brandon, remind me, we got to get that to Chris so he can put all Amy's social media on here. But if you're not familiar with Amy, get familiar with her, because she's phenomenal in this industry, phenomenal in this field. She has already helped a lot of people, and she's really going to help us really add a massive element to our offering. So Amy's going to be heading all this, and so we had Todd, the co-founder, go through everything with Amy. He's done all the genetic testing. He's gone through this with Amy. And I think one of the first things that I'm going to highlight, I'm going to tell a story about how, and show you, we're actually going to show you Todd's genetic. This is not a HIPAA violation. Todd has given us permission to go ahead and show his genetics. So we're actually going to show you what it looks like. When you get the genetics, this is what it will look like. And And I'm going to highlight a little story about how we were able to better dial Todd in from the genetic testing. You know, I had already looked at his blood work. So let me just go into it here. So I got to go share this screen. Share screen. Okay. All right. Let me see what it looks like on the screen here. First, I have to add it to the stage. Okay. So I wish I could. I really don't know how to. I wonder if I could try this again. Option Command plus. It did not work.
Damn.
All right. Option Command plus. No, it did not work. Okay. I don't know how to zoom this in. But so here is the some of the what you're going to see when you get some of these blood tests, right? So we have all of these different from food and weight loss, enzymes and conjugation, allergies, immune system, like all these different things. We have the ability to see it. And I'll point out a few things here, and then I'm going to let Amy kind of go through what she saw. So let me go to this dialing in package. This is like a package that we created that kind of has all the important things. We pulled all the really what we consider important to really be able to optimize somebody as far as everything from just the hormones to understanding all your methylation and again acetylation, glucuronidation, detoxification systems, so we can really understand and really get to the bottom of your symptoms. Right? So let me look at. So, for instance, Todd did this test, and here's kind of where he falls on some of the. Oh shoot, I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh yeah, you can. Good. Mm-hmm. Here's where he falls on this. So this is going to kind of show like his general medication metabolism. So you know how some people, like you always come across that one person who says, "I don't know, none of these medications work for me, so I always need like a higher amount." And I've over the years I've actually had a lot of people say that to me, and you're just like, okay, like whatever, you just. You just like to take a lot of these drugs when you take them. Like I get it. But it turns out that there's something real here. Like if your CYP enzymes, if they're not working to metabolize medications, then you just might not feel them like everybody else. So we can see here Todd's is a little below average. So you could actually say, okay, we could start planning that he may need a little higher doses of things, so to metabolism properly. Of course, you got to watch toxicity in your blood for some of these things, but you can start to see, well, maybe he's not going to feel things like the average person, right? So we have acetaminophen metabolism, but specifically NSAIDs, like he's kind of got a little bit of a problem in caffeine. And when you talk to him, he'll even tell you that he doesn't really feel coffee. He has to drink a lot of it to really feel anything, right? So it's interesting that you can start to put these things in the context. Right? Okay, so let me go and show you something else that I'm trying to remember. That's not the one. Was it this one? Oh no, I just did that one. Okay.
Methylation. Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at methylation propensity. So it turns out that well, you know what? I'm gonna let Amy do this because this is actually important for her to go over. So let me just skip that. Pretend you didn't see that. Let me just go to thyroid. So we can see this little red thing here for thyroid. Now, let me tell you what, when I first did Todd's blood test, like I did his consult and I was going over it with him. And I noticed from the beginning that his thyroid was at the very bottom of the range. Thyroid is just like some of the other hormones. People tend to feel best at the very top of the range, right? So a lot of times if I see that, then I'll say, it looks like that we could optimize your thyroid a little bit. But we were also giving Todd some testosterone at the same time. And sometimes I like to see, it's just something I'll say, let's keep an eye on this. And if after let's see how you react to the testosterone. And if another blood test, we see low thyroid or bottom of the range thyroid again, and you're still having some symptoms of thyroid deficiency, then let's talk about treating you with thyroid. But let's kind of wait. In this case, if we could see this from the beginning, right? So when I saw that, of course, we just treated Todd with testosterone. We didn't treat him with thyroid, and then I saw his genetic testing, and it turns out that Todd here has very low conversion of T4 to T3, right? And I could see that in his T3. You can see it's at the very bottom of the range. So this would be somebody who could probably actually use thyroid medication. And so we ended up giving Todd thyroid medication, and he even felt that much better. He's just like, there was a clear difference when we did that. He felt great he felt good from the testosterone. He felt even better from the thyroid. Everything we've done, he's kind of felt better and better. He didn't even realize he could just keep optimizing. But that's what we've been able to do for him. Now, if I was able to see this right from the beginning, it would have been more clear that he was going to need this T3. It wouldn't have been like, oh, let's wait, let's see a couple more tests. And it would have been like, no, like your genetic tests and your blood tests are lining up. Let's just get this taken care of, right? So this is how we could better treat somebody right here, right? So now I'm going to let Amy take over, and because she can give you her experience. So let me I got to figure out how to. Okay, there, I took it off the stage. I figured it out. So Amy had experience with Todd. She went over all his nutrition, and then the same thing. She made some recommendations, and then saw his genetic testing. And tell us what you saw when we did that, Amy.
Yeah, so it was pretty amazing. And I'll preface this by saying, when I met with Todd, I knew nothing about his genetic testing. I hadn't seen his labs. I knew nothing except what he had filled out for me as a nutrition client. And I will share this with you guys. So this is what came back for me, and the things that kind of came up as being high, need for fatty acids, some maybe blood sugar dysregulation, vitamin need.
Sorry. Okay.
And then
sorry,
a little bit of, sorry. Oh, thank you. I was sharing, but didn't actually add myself. So we see these things where, there were a few things. Overall, his symptom burden was extremely low. Todd is an extremely healthy person.
Yes.
I told him that as well. The total burden, if you guys can see there at 160, I have patients who are in the 500, 600.
Mm-hmm.
Some patients are off all of these things will be red. They'll be all off the chart. So overall things were pretty low. So I saw this first, and then he and I were kind of chatting. One of the things that he brought up to me was that he had chronically low B and D vitamins on testing, that he was, kind of concerned with cardiometabolic health, digestive health, just from some family, concerns that he'd had. So he and I chatted about that. And then something else I look at, and again, this is all before I saw any of his genetic testing, was just some things that stood out to me as being, potential things we needed to look at: need for essential fatty acids, B vitamins, vitamin G is another B vitamin. I look at those top 5, but then I also look at things like this. These percentages, if you look at the 33% here, comes up even higher than the percentage of need at 7 on these top 5 priorities. So I'm like, okay, well, we clearly have something going on with some need for thyroid. So some possibly thyroid things, even though on his symptom burden, it showed as a 1. This was very low priority, but I knew from looking at his answers to some of my questions that this was definitely something we needed to look at. Other than that, like I said, mostly he's extremely healthy. So I'm going to share my other tab. Let's stop sharing this one. I'm going to share my other tab. So before I do that, I'm going to just kind of give a brief overview of what I sent to him as kind of my initial feedback while I was waiting to get access to his genetic testing. That we wanted to support digestion, obviously. He's got some, we talked about nutrition timing, how to kind of balance those kinds of things. But also, my main, sorry, I wrote to him a lot. Vitamin D in a liquid form for better absorption. We talked about doing a methylated B complex. He did not know his MTHFR status at the time when we were talking, but just from the things he was saying, I was thinking that we definitely needed to go the methylated B vitamin route, and MK7, vitamin K2 with the vitamin D, EFAs, and then some digestive support. So, and then of course the thyroid, I recommended doing some Brazil nuts for the selenium, and then essential fatty acids. So that's kind of what I sent him back. And then I got access to the genetic test, which you guys have seen this once, but I'm going to share this, the genetic testing again. I have so many tabs open. Too many tabs open.
What did you use for digestive support?
So Todd has a hiatal hernia. So we have to be careful. He is on omeprazole, which I would never recommend someone stop medication without the approval of their doctor. So that's something that he and I need to kind of dial in.
Yeah.
with some targeted hypochloric acid, maybe some DGL licorice. Like there's some things I'm going to recommend for him to implement kind of slowly to see if we can tip the balance to coming off the omeprazole. But also he does have an actual physical issue that does kind of make that a little bit more challenging. So we have to be very cautious there. So we're going to really slow roll that part of it. Typically, I try and get people off of things like omeprazole rather quickly, but it's mostly because people have become accustomed to taking them, not because they have an actual issue. Yeah. So a little bit different in that sense. All right. Can you add me to the stage once again?
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect. So here we are back in the genetic testing. So this one is under fats. So right away, we see that this person may not be as effective at processing their dietary fats. So being mindful about what sources they take in, but then really trying to optimize those essential fatty acids and get the right balance of fats. Todd is very good at keeping a very low saturated fat diet, but there are times when you want to add some fats because they're beneficial. You just want to make sure you're choosing the right type of fat when you add it in. So that was one of them. And it was just crazy because every single thing I kept finding, I'm like, wow, here we go. Selenium and iodine. Exactly what I recommended. And Brazil nuts.
Selenium. Oh my gosh.
So, yep, Brazil nuts being one of the richest sources, and that's what I'd recommended.
Problems, yeah.
What? Out of curiosity, Amy, because I saw on you recommended only like just a few Brazil nuts. So, what is the reasoning behind that?
You don't want to overdo it. So, especially when you're doing dietary interventions, and remember, I'm a nutritional therapist, so I'm always going to try and use food as medicine first.
Yeah.
People tend to want to really overdo it and think that more is better.
Yeah.
And more is not more. So really with something like Brazil nuts, 1 to 2 a day, every day is going to get those levels nice and steady where we like them without overdoing it and just kind of potentially wasting them. They also are a higher fat food. So I don't want someone going crazy with Brazil nuts, especially when we are trying to kind of balance their essential fatty acids. So you want to make sure that you're not like overloading one fat source, especially when it's something you're consuming every day. And they're very highly bioavailable. So you don't need to go crazy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you told me, oh yeah, eat Brazil nuts because you have selenium, I would eat like a half a bag.
Exactly.
And
people are pounding them by the handful.
And then get sick of Brazil nuts and probably not eat anymore. So yeah, that's like what you're saying makes sense. Just keep it moderate and keep it daily.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, the thing with nutrition, because we all have to eat to survive, right? It's really about every day making choices that in the grand scheme of things add up to the bigger picture. That's the question about the perfect diet for somebody. And I'll we can address that more, but I think that's the tendency we all have of just tell me what to eat that's perfect. Well, perfection in diet, I see Brandon is like, yeah, right. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a million pieces that all add up to the big puzzle of your life. So that's really the way you need to look at diet. Like not as perfection, but as ideal, and as like every little thing you do that makes the right choice is just one more little drop in the bucket of excellence that's just adding to your overall health instead of detracting from your overall health.
Yeah, that's great.
So this one was, so right away, again, we saw that. And then the big one, we talked about the fatty acid balance for those two. And I was kind of looking for things that were standing out, right? So like things that had that were not green, just to kind of see where we were at. Something that was very interesting. This is where I say with anything, with genetic testing or anything, like the genetics are the potential, but it's the epigenetics and how we express them that makes the big difference. Here's the B vitamins. We talked about B vitamins. This is he has a reduced propensity to have optimized B12 levels. So this, was definitely something he and I discussed. And here we are. I had asked him about his MTHFR, and sure enough. And this is why he's got issues keeping some of his other vitamin levels high enough. Because when they're not at the MTHFR variant, this so well, Ryan, because Christina has it as well. Your body doesn't have that ability. You have to think of methylation as like what kind of pushes the signal through or what opens the door. It's just it's one thing in the process or the chain. But if you're taking a lot of B vitamins and if you have MTHFR and they're not methylated B vitamins, your body just can't open the door. Like it can't get what it needs out of it.
Yeah.
So the methylated version of that is going to actually be absorbed by your body and actually utilizable. So very important. And you guys have to forgive me because I'm not as good at looking through everything in this as Ryan is.
Oh, no.
This is the one. So
one thing I do want to highlight, because I think it's important. Like I've heard people in the past say, "Oh, I'm just going to take methylated vitamins just in case I have the MTHFR," right? And that could lead to a problem if you don't need that methylation and you take them anyways. Then we can get what's called over methylation, and then you actually cause the opposite problem you're trying to solve. You actually create fatigue and lethargy in some cases. So I just caution everybody, don't just say, oh, well, why doesn't everybody just take in case they have the MTHFR? Well, that's why you should make sure you have it before you actually start taking these dietary steps for MTHFR.
Yeah. And that's so true with any supplementation. Like, I think people think like, oh, I've heard of this, I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
Well, at best, it's maybe doing nothing if you don't need it. But at worst, it could be detrimental. And people will spend thousands of dollars on supplements that they're either completely worthless or potentially harmful.
Yeah. Yep.
So being able to make sure that doesn't happen.
And that's why come to us. Like, I don't know any other way that you can get you can find out if you have MTHFR for, like, it's in one of our packages for just $178, I think. Yeah. So you can just do a genetic test. We'll get you the results, and then you can see if you have MTHFR. Nobody else. The blood test is like $1,000. If you want to get a blood test, for the it's only two of the main variants too for MTHFR. If you want to do a blood test from any other company, it's $1,000. That's the cheapest I could find.
I'm
we have
shocked
a genetic
at the rates
test
you guys
for
offer.
like for less than $200. We have a genetic test where you can find out if you have MTHFR.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's amazing. So the one thing, and this is what I found really fascinating too, is that, like I said, genetics are potential, but it doesn't always mean that that's your reality. It's just the potential that's there. One of the things that Todd and I discussed is he really enjoys eating Greek yogurt. Eats it without any issues at all. And if you looked at this, like, you see, like, his lactose intolerance risk is possible, right? It's possible, but that's not his reality, at least not right now. But this is where you look at things like, in the future, if there started to be issues, that might be something that we take out first, but if it's not causing problems now, leave it in. It's the potential that's there, not the end all be all.
This is Pacific Room Job is our CFO, and but he has told me this before in the past. Oh wait, not this one. Sorry, this one. Dairy. He really gets, but he has a problem with dairy. He's also a comedian, but he has a problem with dairy. Every time he eats too much dairy, he actually gets sick. He comes down with something. Have you ever heard of that? What would cause that?
It's usually just kind of an overformation of mucus. Like, our bodies it can be very like mucus forming in our digestive system, which can then just make things kind of sluggish. And, as you guys know from having to listen to me talk about digestion as a top-down process and all that on so many other presentations with you, if something's a little bit off there, it just makes you not feel good.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
And it can feel very phlegmy too. If you go to kind of the Eastern paradigm of nutrition, like anything that causes like mucus or wetness and dampness in the body, it's called dampness. It's going to make you feel congested, headachy, brain foggy, like, because it's just there's just trapped dampness in the body.
Yeah. Gary, tell us if you feel phlegmy. She said you might feel phlegmy.
Or like congested.
What he has to say about that.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Amy. I just thought that was interesting.
Not at all. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not sure where everything is on this, but I know that it was one of the ones, Brian, you had pulled up we talked about thyroid. Yes. Conversion is low. That was one of the other, that was the Brazil nuts, but there was also with methylation, we talked about that. Those were really the big ones. Let me look at I'm going to look one more time back at the email I sent to see if there's anything else that we'd really pulled out. Oh, one thing was choline. That was something, he because like I said, Todd's very, has a great diet, would eat primarily egg whites only. And I
Oh,
highly encouraged him to add in some egg yolks. And that was one of the things that came up. I think was it on the methylation one that talked about choline? Yeah, choline need being neutral, but definitely something, a place for improvement potentially when we're
mhm.
looking at ways to improve things. Adding in some eggs and just having a little bit more diverse protein source that maybe some of the things that people don't usually think about, like organ meats, are not usually where they go. So adding in some egg yolks, even if it's just like 1 to 2 egg yolks a week, there's definitely some benefit there just to get that choline from a dietary source. You can also get choline from dairy or other sources as well, but it's just so nutrient dense in eggs. It's just a great place to get it. So more than anything, I mean, the thing that I was the most just so blown away by with this entire panel was I was really expecting it to be something that I looked at and potentially couldn't understand.
We-
Just because I was like, wow, what am I going to see when I open all of this? Like I thought it was going to be really what I thought, Ryan, was it was going to look like this. That it would just be this. And I'd be like
oh yeah,
having to research
yeah,
what all of these are.
right,
And
yeah,
like I know some of these words, like I know CompT, I know
yeah,
MTHFR, like some of these I know, but I'd be like, I really thought I was going to have to research every single one of these SNPs
oh yeah,
to try and find out what they meant, and to see it in such a user-friendly format. I mean, I was so impressed with how everything was so easily laid out. And we had the question about would it say the perfect diet? And I think it's there is one tab that talks about what might be a good diet for somebody. Oh, I hit the refresh button. Sorry. It's going to be doing that for a minute. You might know where it is, Ryan, like where it actually gives yeah, I mean, this is a good overview of everything, that really kind of put it all in just one place, where the sensitivities lie.
yeah.
Interestingly enough,
So
Todd has
many.
never struggled with diet over his life. And one of the things that, it said he may experience a lower response to weight loss from a low carb diet. And something I've encouraged him to do is increase his carbohydrates specifically around his workout window. So
Yeah,
hopefully that will have a positive result as well, because that's definitely something that he could benefit from. So
yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of those are, when we look at some of these, it kind of gives an idea of who
Yeah, so
might be a good candidate for different types of diets for sure.
this answers Mickey Manning's question here. Can it tell you what diet's best for you? And so, I mean, yeah, sort of to a degree. Yeah, we can look at all this stuff and start to really kind of define what diet would be best for you. It just gives us
Yeah.
more information. The more data we have, the more specific, the more customized, the better we can do for you, faster. And this is just, this is just a large amount of data that we have to just give you better information.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
could
It's
set
amazing.
expectations for people getting these tests. When we say it's like user friendly and the data is much easier to interpret than you would expect, a lot of people are still going to get the results and go, I still don't understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily for you to interpret that. That's something that's why you have a Maverick, right? That's why you have somebody who's going to help you with that interpretation. It helps us a lot, it saves us a lot of time, but depending on where you as an individual are at, it might not be all that clear. Is it going to spell out like you should eat this food, this food, this food? To
Yeah.
your eyes, perhaps not. To us, when we see like this
Mhm.
person has problems with methylation, they have problem with this, they have problem with that, alarm bells go off in our heads.
Mhm.
We know what gaps to fill. And Amy certainly does. So
Yeah. I'm glad
Well,
you
it's
brought
just
that
so
up.
much more to explore too.
Mhm.
Like it gives you, and I'm sure with you guys on the hormone side too, like you see these things and it all starts becoming clues.
Mhm.
And before, I mean, like you saw on my own, nutrition kind of breakdown, I saw those clues, but to see them perfectly reflected in the genetics, it's just solidification that like, wow, these specific clues are the meaningful ones. Like this is where it can make a meaningful difference. And then the other things are just the cherries on tops. Like how do we optimize things from that point? But like these are the things that we know are like foundational.
Mhm.
it's the difference between just a hunch and a hypothesis that has something that's actually grounded and
Yeah.
has some level of evidence. So
Yep.
we
Yeah.
instead of us, to Ryan's point, instead of us trying one variable and then having to wait several weeks for it to change and then possibly get your blood tested again, which incurs a different charge, we can just make a very educated guess right out the gate and have a very high probability of getting you a better result. That's why we have this
Yeah.
offer.
Mhm. Yeah. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because like Amy says, like it is very user friendly. When you look at this, it looks, yeah, she's correct. It looks great. It I'm gonna try to pull out something here.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to like contradict that in the slightest. It's just that I think we can oftentimes forget like where the average person's level of understanding on these topics are, because
Yeah.
I always say, like, when I'm explaining something, I'm like, you probably know this, but, and then one of my patients will stop me and be like, Brandon, I assure you, I have no idea what you're talking about. Go ahead, take your time.
It's the problem of being in this industry. Like we talk in our own, amongst each other all the time. And a lot of times, like Amy, when we get on and about bodybuilding, like everything we're talking, everybody else is like, yep, oh yeah. And this, so like, we start to like talk in a world where everybody already knows what we're talking about. And like, we forget that sometimes you forget that,
out there, butter is still a carb.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or you
And
forget
eggs are dairy.
you forget what it was like when you were first learning this, especially because I've been doing this for over 20 years. Like you start to forget what it was like when you didn't know any of this stuff. And like, hey, oh yeah, this is what we're here for. We're here to actually teach all the steps and all the nuances. So here, let me point this out kind of to Brandon's point, which I totally agree with. And then we're going to tell you how we're handling this. Let me go to this thyroid, right? So when we have here, he's got low conversion to thyroid. So it says here, I don't know if you guys can read this. It says this genetic propensity can lead to low T3 levels relative to T4, blah, blah, blah. Managing this, okay, it actually does say managing this genetic predisposition may involve thyroid hormone replacement therapy to ensure adequate supply of T3. I'm actually surprised it even said that. But what we get with a lot of these explanations is you get a lot of, and another thing this genetic company is trying to do is they're also trying to, people are so scared to be accused of giving medical advice, right? So I guess it helps us because we are under the auspices of doctors, right? So like if we tell you to do something, we actually have what do we call it? Advanced protocols where we have this education list that we're kind of allowed to give certain education because it's an advanced protocol that is signed by our chief wellness officer. So some of the things we say is under the auspice of the fact that we work with we have a chief wellness officer, a medical doctor as a chief wellness officer. So I guess we can do it a little bit more than other companies than like, other companies who aren't under the auspices of a doctor. But still, like, I think to a degree, it's just harmful. You're so worried about giving medical advice that they end up giving such ambiguous advice or no advice that's really not that helpful. So they give a lot of maze and perhaps this and perhaps that, instead of saying, if you have this, this is what you should do, right? And that's where we come in. So now what we're going to do is, just like Brandon said, when we see some of these things, it raises like a little alarm bells or flags, and then we can say, okay, this person should do this, right? And then we can start to give direct kind of like, protocols or direct guidance of what to do. You won't see any direct guidance in any of this, although it is user friendly. It kind of is still pretty ambiguous and kind of vague, right? But we'll have the direct guidance. Another thing that we're doing is we're tying this all into here. I can remove this from the stage. We're tying this all into our large language model machine learning, right? So now what we can do is we can give 1 million data points to our machine. We can feed 1 million data points where we had, you have patients that have these markers, right? And then and this is the design protocol for those markers, right? And in some cases, you can even show what the markers that those resulted in, right? When you get 1 million or more data points of all that, the machine starts learning, okay, this is what you do, and most people start to react this way. Here's how you handle these situations. And pretty soon we can run all of these through our again, large language model, machine learning. We don't like to call it AI because AI can suffer from hallucinations, right? It doesn't use the internet. It only uses the the information that we allow it to use. So that's the difference between large language model machine learning and actual AI that uses the internet. So it doesn't hallucinate. It doesn't go get bad information from the internet and then kind of or conflicting information from the internet and then give you bad information. Sometimes that's what AI can do, right? Or a lot of times that's what AI can do. So it won't do that because it's only utilizing the real data, the real professionalized data that we've presented to it, right? So it can start spitting out all these protocols based on all of this data, that all of your genetics, all of your blood work, plus all of your history, plus your personal history and everything. And it can start really allowing us, and then, once it kind of gives these protocols, we go over it. Obviously a human goes over it, but that's, that gives us a lot more information or things that, a human may miss, or it also allows us to scale this, right? And do it for a lot of people. We can actually help a lot more people using this machine learning than we could, I mean, Amy, you know how long it takes to go over all this information and come up with a plan, right? It just takes a vast amount of time. We can scale this and do it for a lot more people if we have help from this AI that has taken in millions of data points. And so it kind of helps us set up protocols, lets us just kind of go over and make sure we agree with everything. And then we can send it to the end user. And to be honest with you, the machines usually come up with things that we didn't think of. So it's actually better. It's usually better.
That's what I'm excited for. Like, in no way are we outsourcing our thinking and like putting like patients to chat GPT. That would be absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But to Ryan's point, like, we have to look at all of your lab work. We have to look at your symptoms. We have to look at whatever you've shared with us. If we have genetic testing, that's awesome. As good as we are at thinking of all the different things we can do, I'm human. I'm going to miss something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it occurs to me the next time we talk, maybe that person provides me another data point in response to something, and then it clicks. I'm like, oh man, I should have thought of that from day one. This gets all the blind spots. So yeah, I'm really excited about it for patients.
What do you think, Amy? How do you think, how did looking at Todd's genetic testing help you, and how do you foresee it helping in the future?
Oh, immensely. The one thing I think about, like when I think of, what I got from my nutritional assessment, right? What is that data? That's data I've received from the client, and it's fluid, right? It is not static. Whereas the genetic testing is like, this will not change. Like you get the genetic testing done once and that's what it is. But the way that expresses, I mean, you can have identical twins who could be having extremely different inputs and experiences in life, but that genetic test is identical. So what's the difference there? And I think that's what all of us are hoping to be able to change. The way that you're expressing those genes is what's really is your experience. That is your life. So if we know that these things are static and these are the things we're working with, we can so much more easily get to the end point quicker for somebody to bring them to that place of optimal health, because we know that these things are not going to change. We know these things, whereas the things that they're experiencing in their everyday life and the outside, like those are just the way that those things are expressing. And as we know with health, it can be a bit of a waterfall, right? As soon as one thing is off, it can just have a terrible downstream effect. And how do you know that you're just not swimming upstream? You're just kind of like, oh my gosh, everything's coming at you. Like Brandon said, like, oh, well, they finally said this. And you're like, well, okay, yeah, now I know what started this waterfall. If you don't know that, like you can spend so much time just treading water. And I think that to me is the most exciting thing. And, having that ability to have extreme amounts of data only gives you more information about, and everybody's going to be different, right? There's still bio-individuality in all of this, but just knowing more of where to start from and have a really concrete base of like real data to start from is just going to make it so much easier. Like so much easier, not easier, like so much quicker to get people to optimal health.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Like I said, some of these things, like if we're just looking at blood work, sometimes we're like, because you said it can be transient. Blood work can be transient, right? Like,
oh my gosh, yes. Eat a fatty meal. Your cholesterol panel is going to look terrible.
Oh yeah, right. And so like when I see, something on a blood test, like I said, like if I see low range, or even if I see low low thyroid. Like, I don't want to do anything right away. Let me make sure that this wasn't just, something or just something that occurred. Let me make sure it wasn't a one-off before we go and treat something that didn't need to be treated, right? And so, but when we have the genetic test to back it up, you can say, no, we have 2 data points that point to this as a problem. So let's just solve it right now instead of waiting, right?
These
So I
days,
totally
it's
agree.
low thyroid, disturbingly good lipids, and an A1C of 4.9. And I'm like, GLP or triathlete? What do you do, buddy?
Yeah. 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 Or like I can look, yeah. I, Sometimes I like shock people with what we can tell just because we've experienced this so much. Like I'll give an example to some of the guys out there, like Trenbolone, right? Like if I see a full hormone panel and I
Yes,
see
wow.
elevated progesterone and elevated
Good.
cortisol, I'm
Mhm.
like, so you're doing Trenbolone? And they're like, how the hell would you know that? I'm like, I can see it in your blood work. But or like I can tell when somebody donated blood, right? So it's like your
Mm.
none of the RBCs, the hemoglobin platelets are a little high. Like none of this makes sense in the context outside of either you have a GI bleed or you just donated blood, right? So it's like uh I don't know why I said that. Oh, the transient nature of blood work. That's why I was talking about that, right? So, but when just like Amy said, when we see it in your genetics, like and you only have to get a genetic test once. Again, your genetics aren't going to change. It's not like blood work where we have to keep taking it. We take your genetic test once, and that's good forever, right? So, it's really interesting. It's really, yeah, just extra data points, everything. I mean, this is going to be like the new revolution, right? Nobody else is doing what we're doing here. Nobody else is including this, and then and with the ability to utilize it to the point that we're utilizing it. So and at the cost that we're doing it for. Our intent is this isn't a revenue source. Again, this is just so we can give you like Amy said, I like that speed to optimization. This is for speed to optimization and just so we can give you better service, better protocols. Yeah, I think that's what we wanted to cover in all of this.
It's like a good bad thing though that Todd is so healthy because, it's almost more fun to look at someone who, like everything is
Yeah,
challenging, and then having to dig back. But like if I had a handful of things and yeah, sure, they're all here. Here they are. Yep,
yeah.
those handful of things. And you
I
know,
know a lot of
yeah,
people don't know Todd because he's kind of like he's the massive brains and organization behind the scenes, and he's the reason this is going to be one of the largest I don't know, we're a health tech company in the industry. This is going to be the largest health tech company. He's the reason for that. But a lot of people don't know him, but if you do know him, like he's a beast. He's 60 years old. He's about to be 61 years old, and he's really muscular, and he's really lean, really healthy. There's no way that you would be able to know that he was that age, especially by his blood work. Nobody would look at his blood work and go, "Oh yeah, this is from a 60-year-old man." He's yeah. So yeah, he's incredibly healthy. He eats well. He does everything right. He's been an athlete his whole life. So yeah, it's he's not a typical. He just reacts well to everything too. Like everything we did for him is like he just kept feeling better and better and better.
Wait man, Ryan,
Testosterone
are you saying that somebody who's already doing everything right, when you add the thing that's missing, they respond really well?
I guess there is a synergy in between and eating right and exercising and being able to optimize with hormones. I guess there is a synergy there. They work yeah,
yeah.
the hormones, the optimization pathways work exponentially better with all those things, with eating right and
It's
exercise.
almost as if it didn't do that, we wouldn't waste our time constantly talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, but there's also something I think to be said for people who are very in tune with their body. And, that is something that I am somewhat surprised by, in dealing with, large, diverse clientele is that there are people who just aren't,
They don't know.
and yeah, those ones, it's harder to get them there sometimes, they aren't that in tune. So I think the more kind of things you can show someone who's potentially feeling that way of like, this is really what we're seeing, let's
Yeah.
try this. This is why, might make them kind of then tune into like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I do see that. And we're not trying to give, I always say that with nutrition too. Like, I never want to give somebody an issue they don't have ever,
Yeah.
Because I don't. And that I think that is so the kind of internet culture that we have nowadays is people, they're looking for a problem, not looking for a solution. So I never want to give someone problems that they don't have, even if I see it. Like, I don't even care. We do the same thing in plastic surgery. Like, I don't care if somebody comes in and like, I think that they need X surgery and the only thing they care about is why. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, not my life. But,
Mhm.
when you see someone who is potentially really out of tune with themselves and really struggling, having that ability to show them like, this could be why,
Mhm.
there's a real reason here. And like, don't let that, like, it's okay for you to feel this, like really feel
Mhm.
this and know that we're going to help you deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think a larger trend that's a little concerning is, with all the different things going on in health, like functional health, there's always a new like fear-related marketing tactic, for lack of a
Mhm.
better expression, from coaches or whoever,
Mhm.
which unfortunately they're just using whatever's hot to scare people into reaching out to them and then
It
trying to
it's the alarmist mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
The
it's
alarmist mentality, right? Like if you make it's the age-old way to get either elected, it's using political campaigns to get
of course,
elected,
of course.
or to get people dopamine hits, right? Because if I make the people afraid of something and then offer the solution, they have to come to me and I'm the savior. Or an election
Mhm.
campaign, it's make the people afraid of something, offer a solution, and then you can get elected that way, right?
Alien dialects,
So
yes.
Oh, that's so true. Like, is
But
it mold? Is it
yeah, that's
parasites?
what's like,
Like, everything in your life is killing you.
parasites or yeah, and, like, is it that these things don't exist? No, of course, they are real, but does every single like, you have fatigue, does that mean it's mold? Statistically not.
yeah.
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 Like,
Well, then it
what
must be cortisol.
I'm a big fan of Occam's razor. What if there was just a simpler answer? Can you tell me what the last hour of your night looks like? Oh,
Yeah.
you TikTok till 3 AM? Okay, maybe it's
Yeah.
not mold.
Yeah. Yeah. When was the last time you drank water?
Yeah.
It's all those things. Or yeah, had any like whole foods. Like, there's so many things that are easy, but I think you're so right, Brandon. Like, people are they're seeking like the
Shiny up.
sensational. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, it has to be this.
So you're saying don't take the NAD? It's like,
Mhm.
You take the whole bottle. Eat all the Brazil nuts, the whole
that
bag.
that'll give you a buzz.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm so impressed, Ryan. I really am. Like, I wanted to like reach out to you immediately when I looked at Todd's genetic
Oh
testing,
yeah.
and I was so excited, but I'm like, of course, HIPAA. I'm like, I can't, but I was like, oh my gosh, I have to call Ryan. I'm like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
so cool.
Well, yeah. Like, well, yeah. Anybody in our organization is allowed to share the data. Like, we're all allowed to look at our patients' information. So there's no HIPAA within our organization because that's what everybody signs the waivers. They all sign that the whole organization is allowed to see their data.
Which is very useful because we use it to learn. Like if I have a complex case and for some reason I wasn't able to share that with the rest of the guys and
Yeah,
girls,
with the rest of our team. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense if we couldn't share data with each other.
how would they
Yeah.
learn? And there's also just little things like, okay, what if somebody's out on vacation? Does that mean that person goes without a refill because like they're
Yeah.
put in such a way that I can't fill out a refill form for somebody? Like, it makes no sense.
Okay. If anybody has any questions, why don't you go ahead and ask those? I'm gonna say hello to everybody in the chat. I was supposed to do that in the beginning and I didn't. But let's say hello to some of the people here, and then we'll take the questions, and then we'll call it a night. Boston Sean is here, of course. He was the first one here. He was here at 5:15,
Wow.
or 2 hours, almost an hour and 45 minutes before showtime. All right.
Dots.
Zionic is here. Tim, or sorry, I think I doxed him. I just doxed him. Did you get a hold? We're gonna get a hold of you.
I did reach out to him. Unfortunately, it's just not. It's a timing problem.
Oh, the timing is wrong. Okay. Well,
Still, I told him still top of the list if
yeah.
things line up. he knows he's my first reach out. So
Good. Ryan Parsons is here, of course. Ryan Parsons got it. You have a fellow Denverite here.
I saw that. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Do you know this person? I'm just kidding.
I don't. I'm like, do I recognize that G6? No.
Mickey, remember Mickey Manning is here. And of course, the Thanatos is here. Let's see. And we already said hello to Pacific Ridge. Oh yeah, No Waker. I was gonna say, I think No Waker got all these genetic tests. Did you get the one for caffeine? There's one for caffeine here. It'd be interesting to see if you don't metabolize caffeine that well, and that's the reason why you handle all of this coffee.
The other thing outside genetics is if you are prone to stimulant use, you eventually just become very like acclimated to it, and your adrenal output starts to reduce, and you kind of rely on it for cortisol output. So genetics are important, but there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Yes. Okay, so we have a question here. Okay, here we go. What does the nutritional counseling look like? That's a great question. So Amy is going to be heading this, I'm like confused as what to call it. Not really a department, but this category. No, what would I call it?
Offering.
This offering.
Yeah.
Our nutrition counseling. She will be heading this. We are putting together, like right now, we're putting together a program so that we can make it easier for people to understand, or make it easier for us to understand as well. So we don't have the pricing or exactly how it's going to work yet, but we are putting that together. I don't know. But Amy does a phenomenal job. So she collects a lot of data, and she really, really dives into it. I don't know if you have anything else to say for that, Amy.
Yeah, I think with nutrition, it's very, there definitely will be, I think, probably tiers, and based on need.
Mhm.
It really is. I mean, someone like Todd, he and I could probably talk twice and be done. Maybe 6 months later, do a check-in. There are other people who, might have a goal of, like, let's say weight loss, where we're checking in with them once a week for a year, or who need a lot of help. So it really, meeting people where they're at with nutrition has always been something that's really important to me. And you kind of have to find as much as somebody can take in at once too. You never want to overwhelm someone with a lot of change. So, whether that be like kind of constant hand holding every week for a couple of months, or twice and we're done, or once and we're done. Some people just want a little bit of a refresher, or a few little tips and tricks here and there. And that's it. So it's going to be very patient or person specific for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that, but yes. Yeah. Some people just may want kind of a simple base diet to follow, and but some people need would like a lot more information. So yeah, we'll kind of have, like Amy said, we'll probably have tiers to kind of deal with all that and what everybody wants. Okay, here, Ryan Parsons has a question for you, Amy. You a fan of using certain cheeses as a dietary source for K2?
Somebody wants to get all of their K2 from dietary sources only. I mean, you could potentially try that. I still am going to always err toward doing a little bit of supplementation if I see a strong need for K2. Depending on where you live in the country, there are definitely times of year when I would always add it in, just because the conversion with vitamin D they're so closely linked. But could you potentially seek that out, like especially some of our hard cheeses? To try. Yeah. I mean, I'm always willing to work with someone on doing nutrition only based approaches if that's where they want to start from.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I really noticed with you, Amy, is that you really are willing to meet people where their nutrition is, right? And kind of like work with people. Like a lot of like the boot camp style nutritionists, right? Like, no, you do this, you do exactly what I say, you do, this is exactly what you do. And, depending on what your goal is, right? Like, for somebody training for a show, you have to get really boot camp and really militant about it. you know, some people, if you get really militant with them, they're just going to say, no, screw this. I'm just not doing it. Right. So it's like, you kind of have to meet people where they are. And that's where you really excel, Amy. Like, and still a lot of nutrition people are going to say, no, you do exactly what I say. If you don't do these things, then you can't expect results, blah, blah, blah. But,
well, and that's, you know, there's two reasons for that. You know, we get one life. That's the number one reason. But also, you know, I want people to feel like they're winning every day. And if you are constantly feeling like guilt, I never want people to feel guilt about what they're eating ever, because that just starts a cascade of really potential negatives, only negatives. And, you know, so I never want to be that person who's filling someone with guilt. What I tend to want to do is I want to edge out the bad by adding in so much good, rather than being like, you have to, and people think that, right? There's people who tell me they're afraid to talk to me because I'm going to take all their food away. And that is absolutely not true. You know, I would rather be like, here, I want you to add these 5 things in every single day. And just eventually we're going to edge out. They don't even know what's happening. We're just pushing out all that bad. They don't even see it coming, you know, rather than saying like, take this out immediately. I mean, maybe occasionally, and if someone has like a severe allergy and we know it, or they come up that they're positive for celiac, like, yeah, I'm going to tell them they need to remove gluten from their diet. But other than that, like, I always want people to feel like they are a success, that they're winning at their diet, at their nutrition, not failing.
That's a good way to put it. I never thought of that. Like, I'm going to hire you, Amy, and just not tell you about the crumble cookie I'm having every single night.
Right? Eventually I'm going to fill you with so much good food. Exactly. But see, that's just it. People won't, you know, and then like, you know, it's not punishment. Like, nutrition isn't punishment. Like, food isn't punishment. It shouldn't feel like you're being tortured, you know, to eat a certain way, because again, you get one life.
Yeah.
Are you really going to be sad when you're on your deathbed that you ate that crumble cookie? No, you're not.
No, I don't think you can ever be sad from eating crumble cookie.
Right?
Maybe if you eat a whole box like the next day,
That's
but while you're doing it, it's nothing but bliss.
I've stress tested that theory. You can indeed be sad by eating crumble cookies. It's plural crumble cookies.
Plural. Oh, if you're crying into your ice cream, you're still eating ice cream.
Well said.
Okay, so Boston Sean asks, how much is nutritional testing and consult with Amy? Work a one-time meeting? How's it work, a one-time meeting or multiple? So yeah, that's kind of what we're developing right now. But like Amy indicated, it will probably be like tiers, and it will probably be based on your needs, right? So it won't. I don't think we're gonna. Like, we can like to leave optionality.
We can push out whenever it's finalized, like the tiers or what have you, via like a marketing email. So patients are aware that that's now an offering, and once it's live,
we will make people aware. Yeah, we'll send out emails to everybody. We'll start mentioning it, and we'll actually show it on the live show, and we'll really go over. Obviously, we'll have a lot more shows with Amy, and where we can go over exactly how we do this. But like, you know, probably tiered, but also optionality, right? Like, so it would be kind of, if you need more meetings, then we'll allow for that. It's not like we're going to say, you only get one, that's it, you had your meeting, and now your nutrition is done. But so it was, you know, it just kind of depend on what you need, and we'll, like we do everything, we'll kind of allow for customization as well. Oh, okay. You're gonna have to tell us, Brendan, what's Hanlon's razor?
he actually does have it right below what he typed up.
So he put it in there.
Occam's is just the simplest answer is most often the correct answer. And then the next one, Hanlon's razor, is never attribute to malice, which is adequately explained by stupidity. Which, it sounds kind of silly, but like if you actually apply it, like you'll realize oftentimes the guy cutting you off in traffic, maybe he's like late for something really important. Maybe he's rushing home to help somebody. Like, you don't know what's going on. So just give people a little grace, you know?
So I always say, you never know what's going on in somebody's life. Like always, like I always ask yourself, like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like, what would love do? Like, what would love do? I mean,
I'm not sure if I'm that excellent of a person yet, but I will work on that.
I mean, I think if you replaced ignorance or stupidity with ignorance, you know, that might help a little bit too, because I think sometimes people they just don't know, you know, it's not an active, I'm trying to be unknowing. It's just an unknowing, but it can come across as malice for sure. We're all just doing the best we can, right? In the
Yeah,
moment with what we've got.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it for the questions. So I think Amy does have to call us a night, and we and I think
I got to go
we'll
eat some
wrap this up.
sushi.
I'll
Yeah,
say, I'm glad
and I'm jealous.
it's like,
I'm totally jealous. So
I'm so excited.
you should be. Good for
so
you.
it was thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who showed up. It was it's great. All the people here are what make this. Thank you, Amy, for coming on. You came on in an impromptu manner, and we really appreciate it.
And a great
Thanks, Brendan, again. So do we know who's coming on next week? Do we have a plan, or is Damien coming on next week? Damien unfortunately got sick and had to
I thought I saw that got moved to next week, but I'll confirm.
okay.
Yeah,
We'll let everybody know who's coming on next week. But we appreciate it.
We will be around.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you very much. It was again great seeing everybody, and thanks again to everybody else. And we will talk to everyone next week.
We'll see y'all
Thank you.
next time. Bye.
Thank you, guys.